Hey everyone, welcome to another Lunch and Learn. I'm going to be your host for today, Gregory Goldston, and this will be our penultimate Lunch and Learn before Thanksgiving. Please be sure to check out our Decisions Solutions Marketplace, which is closely linked to our Decisions Forum, which has a lot of great answers for what you might be looking for. So as people start to come in, I'll start looking for questions. So we already got quite a bit of people coming in quite early. That's fantastic. And then participants. Okay. I think I'll move this over to the hold on just a moment. I'm still here. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm sharing the right screen. There we go. Okay. We're in our decisions environment here. I will continue to wait as questions come in. I don't see any currently, but if I'm missing any, of course, feel free to let me know. Phew. I guess why we wait be not a bad idea to start go over some of the things that are coming out. We have a new video out on the end form session step, which goes about discussing all the different functionality that this one particular step can have. In fact, there are 8 different settings that you can configure for just one step that changes how it behaves. So here it is right here. And as you can see, I have this option. Oh, I have this option in the properties over here, and I can configure that to display a message, which can be either on the right, center, wherever, display a message and navigate to a particular place in the portal. I can open a URL either in a new window or just straight up navigate the user there to something outside of decisions. I can display a report. I can update URL parameters if I don't necessarily want to navigate somewhere, but maybe change the parameter in my URL that could affect what reports are showing, and a variety of other options. So I'll keep looking here. I'm not seeing any questions yet, even though we've got quite a bit of participants in here. So I'll back out. Let's see. Can I put this up on the top? There we go. Just a little bit easier to see that way. And then I'm going to be honest, I don't know where my Q&A went. Ooh, let me
We
take a look at
disabled it, I
that.
think.
Nope, it's still there. I just popped it up.
Oh, sure. Good eyes.
I think I dropped it. Got it. Got it. There we go. We're good. I was just moving stuff around, accidentally covered up something important. Okay, still no one. Well, don't have a lot of other projects at the moment, but this one's getting pretty close. Ah, Jace. I'm new to Decisions platform. Can you provide an overview of what Decisions is? Ooh, all right. That's a topic and a half right there. Let me unmute you so that you can talk a little bit more, and we might be able to make this a little bit more personalized to what you're looking for. But you should be able to speak now.
Yeah, so I heard about this. I heard about this webinar. Wanted to come on and explore a little bit about what decisions is.
All right. Well, very wide overview is that Decisions is a rule engine, flow engine, automation platform that allows you to create various sorts of rule flows, workflows in a no-code environment. So, for example, if I were to go into our project I created today, I should mention this is the layout of the decisions portal. You would install it against whatever database. You can consider it like a UI over top this database stored in like SQL, Postgres, or maybe an externally hosted Azure DB. And then you have this layout here that you can configure. You have different accounts with different permissions. Maybe that's getting a little too much into the weeds. The idea is that every single thing that you build is categorized into these projects that do not know what's going on in the other projects unless you manually declare that dependency. Within these projects, I can then proceed to create these flows that can connect with maybe an API call, or perhaps I have a set of rules that I want to run something by, like insurance rules. Like I get a claim in, I want to compare it to a bunch of different rules and then send out a response with like claim output, claim amount, that sort of thing. So I go in here. Here are the basic entities that you can create. Again, basic, not the only entities. But let's call this your flow. Here's where our flow designer happens. Here's provided with a bunch of the different steps, which can both incorporate other entities, such as the rule entity, the truth table, which is the type of rule, or you can have particular actions that just work with the data in your steps. Your setup input data is your default data that your flow is looking for at the start of this step, which can either be provided by a user input, or perhaps if you're calling this step by an API call, then it's part of the body of the post call made to that API service, which gets authenticated in various ways. I'm not going to go into the authentication. That's, I think, again, a little too detailed. So let me exit out of that. So if I just wanted to have data that I worked with and passed it out to a call or to another service, I would come over here and maybe I just want to add something. I'm going to go very basic here. This is an add step. I take two double type variables, and for this one, I'm going to set it as a constant. So I'm always going to be adding the number 5. And then for my input data, which can come from outside sources, I will call this my number. I'm going to set it as an integer as I don't feel like adding decimals right now. And I'm going to save. That's not any more complicated, I should mention. You can add decimals if you want to. And I'm going to select from flow, and that shows all of the current data that's being passed out to my flow right through this, well, flow connected by the line. If I disconnect this step and I try this again, whoops. Well, that's going to show because it's one of the default inputs. But if I had a different number coming down from here, it wouldn't show to this one. This output wouldn't show here because it's not connected. So I'll connect this. Okay, connect it to my end step. And let's say we just wanted to display it real quick. I'll add something called an end form. Let's create a new one. And I'm going to have the number display here. I'll call it total, or I could call it sum. And I'm going to choose to display this from the data name. All right. And I'll show you what that means. So now when I exit this, you'll see that I have an input here for total. It's going to populate this total with whatever variable I'm passing into here as my output, the add double variable. So I'll pick that. And then, of course, I need to map in my number that I'm going to be passing in here. And I might need a converter here to convert it to double. I should probably just use the add step without double. Give me just a moment. Hmm, It might be decimal. And if it's not going to show up in our search, then we'll just go to the proper place that it's stored. Everything is going to be stored under these categories. The search is just a handy feature. So I'll go into data, numbers, and I'll go to add. So let's do this again. 5, and then here I'm going to pick my number. Oh, whoops. I made the mistake. I set number to string, right? You can't add a string because a string could be any sort of list of characters. Now, if I do that, that will resolve the issue. I'm going to pass out my output here, right? My add double output is no longer valid because I got rid of the double step. I want the add one output. And then I'll just run this flow. Oh, that's because I didn't put any info data. Let me debug this, my bad. I'm going to put in the number 5. 5 and 5 is 10. So again, I could go into the entirety of this lunch and learn discussing decisions as far as what it does. But did you have any more specific uses that you were hoping to accomplish with this?
No, not really. That's a suffice overview. Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. All right. I did see that we had a few more questions come in. And hold on, I'm pulling them up. There we go. Is there a plan to create an RPA module for decisions? Let me unmute you so that I can understand exactly what your ask is here. All right. You should be good to talk.
Okay. Can you hear me?
So, yes, I can. What are you hoping to accomplish in an RPA module?
For example, if you know there are some RPA tools like, for example, UiPath, and basically it's just to mimic a human interaction with the different applications without the actual integrations. And in some use cases, we would like to marry those two features. So, for example, um, somebody as a daily routine goes to a place, downloads Excel file, and then parse that Excel file, for example, uh, do some manipulation, then from that point we can send that file, for example, to database, and decisions can pick it up and do more stuff as a background automation.
Okay. So I'm going to repeat this just so I understand. You're trying to automate a process for someone going in, inputting data, moving it to a database, or is it a little bit more? I'm just trying to make sure I understand what the RPA in this is for. Like,
Well, RPA tools, they meant to be just to mimic human interaction with different applications.
I think we might have a
oh,
module
okay.
for that. Yeah, I think there's a module. If we can go to features, I forgot who it was or what the name of it. Go to all services. There they go, perfect. And then I think there's like scroll down, scroll down. Keep going. Datamatics. I think they're RPA. I don't have to. There's a. Let's see. Let's find a Datamatics.
Take a look here. Application developed by Datamax works with an unstructured or semi-structured documents to capture data with high accuracy and a higher percentage of straight-through processing. Integrated generative AI enhances accuracy, automation, multilingual support, and various other advantages in document processing. Let's take a look at the TrueBot version. A license for TrueBot is needed. Learn more at Datamatics Intelligent Automation, IDP, TrueCat Partner. Well,
That
that
might
doesn't
be
really
what you're
tell us a
looking
lot.
for. So that might be what you're looking for. But it seems like that you need a license from Datamatics from that.
Okay.
I think.
So basically, we can do the same with UiPath. It's just like a separate tool that doesn't have to do anything with decisions, right?
If you use Datamatics, you can use the module, or it's a UiPath integrations. I don't know if UiPath has any REST integration capabilities, then you could just integrate via REST with them.
They can run code, like runtime code. So they can execute some code basically, and you can do something like API integration with decisions with that code. So it's doable.
Yep.
All right, cool beans. I'll look into that more as well. I'll see if that's what we're looking for as far as the RPA. All right, I did see another question. I'm gonna go take a look at that now. And that was Robert. Let me unmute you and I'll read your request aloud here. There you are. So I don't have a question in particular, but more of a question on how to help create a process that can help map properties to custom data types, but the data types are dynamic within the process. So currently, I am recreating the same 3 to 4 steps within a loop and manually mapping to the data type necessary. This is not really an issue when there are only 5 data types, but if there are 10 plus, it becomes very tedious. And there is the potential that this will become a routine feature we use for future clients. I can share my screen to show examples. We are not allowed to have customers share their screens during the lunch and learn since we're going to upload this publicly to YouTube. But if you'd like to describe this, I'm all ears.
Okay. So you can hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So we have a flow that takes in a custom data structure, which links us to allow us to do this mapping. So what we're mapping is we deal with SAP integrations, and the input needed for our BOPs have their own data structures. And so what we're doing in this flow is we're creating all the data structures natively, and then using the process data that comes into this flow, it's set up in a way that we can pull the different properties from it and map it to the correct property within the SAP input, like BOPI input.
Okay. And you're
And
fetching
so
this. Oh, sorry. Just to make sure I understand, you're fetching this from where? Where do you get the data types from? Like an integration, a CSV upload?
so it's part of our custom module. It's just we are able to pull it from SAP, and it creates all the data types within decisions, and then each data type basically has its own type of they're like complex data types and have their own structures basically.
Hmm. Okay.
And so you think of it, it's a complex data type that has its own additional properties inside. And some of them are might be like lists inside or their own special type. And so what we're doing is the data that gets sent into this, it is set up so it has like the name of the data type, and then it has additional fields that we then know map to specific fields, or that will contain the information to map it to the right property in. So what we're using is the set property on object step.
Set property on object. Okay. Okay, gotcha. So
And so our the property path is what we're pulling using in our loop. Basically, it's part of the data that comes in. So it'll tell us where in the dynamic data structure that can be different, where it will go within that structure. The target is what we're comparing and matching to. And then the value is just the value that it's going to be. And so the things that change really are just the target. The rest is pretty standard. The property path and value, that's separate, and they'll just always be the same mapping. But the hard part is getting the target, because it can be multiple different types of data structures, if that makes sense. And
Are you just trying to get one piece of data between all 4 or 5 data types? Because the set property on object is you have to pass in the object and then the value and then the path to that property. It's not a
and so
dynamic.
it's different objects, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, that part I get. My question is, are you utilizing this step property on object step?
Yes.
Because this step, so what I'm trying to make the point is that this step doesn't cast that data into another type. This just says, okay, pass in the object. For example, like let's say I have a JSON package that's name, Jared, age 27, right? And I say, hey, I want to update the value age in the JSON data pair age. So then I'll say, here's the object, pass in, Jared's employee object. Value is going to be, 31, and then the property path is the age. Like that's what that does. It just says, here's your object, specify the path. But what you're looking for, right, is something to say, hey, I've identified this JSON type. It's JSON type person. Go down this path and run it. Hey, this is JSON type. What do you call it? Let's see, fruits. Go down this path for fruit catalogization, right? And then it just will convert that data when need be. Is that kind of what you're?
Yes.
I
And
think.
so what we're doing is, so we're matching that. We're trying to find the right object to match to. That's the first, so we're using just a string match step to make sure we find the right object type. And then when we use that, basically just chaining a bunch of them together. And then if it's true, then we use that same object type as the target. And again, basically copying that to match up to whichever string contains match that we use. So
So the objective is, so once we do that, what's the next part of the process? It just identifies the type. Or is the
I guess
goal
just
to
a
reduce
way
the
so
mapping?
that yeah, reducing the mapping so that we can mainly just use one set property step that can maybe the best way to have it so it can the target can be dynamic so we can. Does that make sense?
Kinda. I'm not sure if we have that level of granularity. I mean, you probably could if you use like the call internal service steps, and there's probably like a mapping service, not a data structure, but like let's say there's look for like a mapping service, Gregory. Then
Will do.
you may be able to, here we go, mapping data service. And you could probably set a mapping, and you'd probably have to add in a lot of different mapping contexts to do that. So it's not that it's basically like, are we building a like a 3-2 family home, or are we building like a a 10,000 square foot mansion, right? This is the 10,000 square foot mansion. You could do it. It's just going to take a while to go through the internal data types. The more kind of the 3-2 family bedroom kind of way is like, if I have that type, I'll send you some videos that we have where you can interact with the data via the JSON pair and then get through them that way, which may be able to help because now you're just mapping in strings and mapping in different values that way. And it might be better if you don't need the composite type, right? That's kind of the difficulty here. I'm going to put this in your question. Let's see, type answer. I'm going to send you that video, and then I think there's another video I'm going to send you that might help. But I do think that probably the best way to go about this, though, since we can't share screen, is I would submit a support ticket. We could even submit that for you and see if we can get someone on the call, and maybe there's some simpler process that we can do. But it would be just very hard to kind of, because I think I conceptually know what you're trying to do. It's just it'd be a lot to like.
It's hard to say without
exactly 100%.
It's hard to explain. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly, but it's definitely possible. It's just going to be a while. All right, I just sent you in your question. I just sent a YouTube video that's just getting the JSON data pair. Gregory, if you can, I'm going to send this to you. If you can just pop this up there just so I can like give a 2-minute explanation for it.
I'm looking.
I just sent it to the hosts and panelists.
All right, I'm opening it up.
Yeah. And if you just go ahead and mute the microphone, or not your microphone, but like the speaker.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
I know what you're saying.
Perfect.
All right.
So go ahead and start playing this. So skip through, just go to like the middle section. Yeah, exactly. So pause here, blow it up for me, please.
Yep, I'm working on it.
Perfect. And what you notice here is what we do here is this kind of helps us get like a dynamicness nature to it. What we do here is we can get the data pairs. You can also, you maybe you'll do this with XML, but I know in JSON you can do this. You can get the data pair. And so if I just want the age property of Jared's objects or the employee object, then I can deal with that data from a string and a more primitive data type context instead of trying to do all these different, composite type, objects, right? Obviously there's different pros and cons to that as well. But that's what you can do, and then you can change or reference that value or add additional pieces of data into that JSON package if you need to. And so it kind of can make that kind of dynamicness a little bit better if you're going to be in a situation where you are going to add more types. Keep going, scroll a little bit more to the right. Gregory, for me, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Let's see, keep going. Go all the way to the beginning on the first. Next, go to the next kind of time block. Keep going. Next time block. Right, and then halfway between the one previously. Yeah, there we go. Is this the same one?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll let you watch the video, Robert. But this is
Okay.
essentially kind of what it does. It teaches these steps that may help you in that regard.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at those.
Awesome.
Then if that doesn't solve it, then I'll try opening a ticket just to get some additional eyes on it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cool beans. Thank you very much. All right. And then we did have another question in the Q&A, I believe. So I'm pulling that up right now. Jeff, I see that you have a question. Let me unmute you here, and then we can talk about it. All right. So it says, is there an update to decisions that supports the relatively new SQL Server columns of JSON data type or a workaround? Ooh. So this is an update to the decisions server that would be installed against this new type of SQL server that just came out.
Yeah, so it's not a new SQL Server. It's just they've added to the regular SQL Server product a typed column called a JSON column.
Interesting. And what types did they add the support for, if you can clarify? Like SQL Server 19, 20,
Oh,
2022?
I'm not sure the number. We're on Azure SQL, so it showed up in there
Ah, okay,
about
gotcha.
6 months ago. So
Hmm.
I mean, I know that for the hosted products, they still maintain the numeric version numbers, but I'm not sure what that is.
Right, that'd be a little bit different. I mean, I know that we support that type of database, but I am not certain if that particular field update is something that Decisions accommodates for. I would have to ask our devs about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I can get back to you on that. I don't know that off the top of my head.
So what I did is I created a table integration on a table that I set up that had one of those column types in it.
Hmm.
And the decisions version of Entity Framework is not, it's just picking it up as type object.
So it's not registering it as JSON.
Yeah, so interestingly, when you do a select on the table, it does return an object of type object that has that string in it that you can cast to a string or your JSON data type. But
Mm.
on the saving the inserts and the updates, it doesn't know how to handle that. Like in the properties list, it just complains that there's no type of editor for that.
Okay. No
So,
parameterless constructor could be found for so and so.
yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, all right. That means that we may not have something ready to accommodate that update. I'll check with the devs to confirm, but if you're seeing that error, it's either one, we've got an internal service method hid somewhere deep inside that maybe can do it, or two, it just hasn't been configured to handle that yet. I will confirm though. I will make sure that I confirm and get back to you on that. And just to clarify, what version of decisions did you try that against?
We're on 8.15, I believe.
815. Okay, cool. All right, I'll see if I can run that against a similar SQL database. And one more final question that I have on this. Is this an integration against the local database that your decisions is installed against, or just an external Azure database that has this functionality?
Oh, it's an external database that we connect to.
Okay, gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure. I want to understand if the decisions platform was running on this database or if it's just an integration call. That's what I was trying to figure out.
Oh, and I just looked at our decisions instances and we're on 8.18.
818. Okay. All right. I'll get that information over to the right people and I'll get you an answer back, yay or nay on that.
Okay. Maybe I'm letting you know about a new thing.
You might be. You just might be.
Okay.
All right. And then let's see. I saw another thing in the Q&A here. Let me take a look at that. And then you're saying, oh, I see. You were suggesting an XPath query to set the value on the property. Yeah, we were kind of discussing different ways that we could do that with the JSON value pairs, and we should have the step-by-step to be able to work with that as well. Okay, so that's quite a bit going on already. That's nice. That concludes our current queue of questions, but if anyone has any more, please let us know. I'm going to stick around a little bit just to make sure we don't have any more else that wants to ask them. I'm going to move back into my little flows here. So, just for anyone else asking, as far as Jeff's question, let me give a little bit more further explanation. There's been an update to a database that decisions can integrate against that allows for the database to store JSON properties or JSON objects. And the question was whether decisions can now fetch those JSON objects into the platform with that update. The current issue that is happening is something I can actually demonstrate the exact error here. Give me, even without the integration, I can show you exactly what's going on here. I think it's a data pair. I think that's how this works. Is it create data pair or is it get? I'll see if I can find a way to, might be create. Actually, I think it's just create data, call it a data pair, and then we just try to work from there. See if I can pull that up. It may not work.
I can give a little more clarification on that if you want.
Oh, you're good. I know
Okay.
what you're asking about that. I don't have a current Azure setup. I was trying to pull up a different way to recreate the same error.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I get what you're saying though. Yeah, it comes when you're trying to like import the object into decisions, save it as something, but it's not recognizing it at it doesn't have any sort of, well, as it mentioned, it doesn't have a constructor for that data type to be able to map that object correctly to the JSON object that you're trying to save or the object in the database.
yeah. And the product is SQL Server. And previously, if you wanted to store JSON in a column, you just had to create a car column or nvar car. But now they've added support for native JSON inside of a column,
That is pretty cool.
similar to what they have now for XML.
Right, right. I'm not sure how to recreate without making the integration to it, so I'm just gonna hold off on that for now. And I don't know if my local SQL server has that update configured. And trying to update that may take the rest of lunch and learn. So I will, again, once again, I'll make sure I get back to you on that, Jeff. But thank you for providing those clarifying details. Okay.
I had one more question
Oh yeah, please,
if
please.
I can
What
just
you
say
got?
it. The dependencies. Is there a way in the dependency viewer to see dependencies down on a table integration down to the type of step? Like say I have a table integration to some table, but I want to see what all flows are using the selective update for that
Selective
integration.
update for that integration. Let's take a look. So I'm going to create a connection against my database name here, test. Pardon me as I stop sharing for a moment just to hide this information. Let's see here. Oh wait, what am I doing? I can just create it against the local connection, right? I can just add a table there. I'll do that. All right, let's go to our data types where we can add that there, data structures, database integration, add a table, select local connection, and then, hello? So you're trying to, please, would you mind asking your question once again?
Oh, sure. So if I have a table integration to a table in my database,
Okay.
you know how when you set that up, you can select what steps you want to include, like if it's select all, select by
Right.
ID, that kind of thing.
Yep,
Is
right
there,
over here, right?
yeah. Is
Okay.
there a way to view dependencies on that table integration so that I can say, show me all the flows that are currently using the selective update for that table?
I don't know if it can show it on a step-by-step basis. Let me take a look. I'm not sure if that's possible, but we'll see. It's worth checking. So we got that set up. Let's go in here, go to our integration, database, local connection, entity account, and then we'll just do a get all. Just something to show that exists. Let's just limit it to, nope, that didn't work. If I limit it to 0, I don't think it's going to like that. Let's save that. And now let's view the dependency browser on that. So if I go to it, I should be able to go to more. No, dependencies, browse dependencies. So it shows the data type that gets created with it and the integration, right? Yeah. So if I go into this, I can then see, of course, the flows that are utilizing this, but I don't know, it doesn't look like it's going to show it on a per step basis as far as which particular steps are being used in this
Okay.
flow from that. Yeah, it's not going to show it on a flow step basis. I can add another flow that uses it real quick, just to demonstrate that. And we're in a different step under our integration database, local connection, and then let's get an exists. Let's do an exists, just check exists or not. And then account ID is just going to be something random here. It doesn't have to actually do anything. It just has to be in here. Okay, so we now have Jeff2 flow, Jeff error flow, and now if I go to this one and go to browse dependencies, we will see that's dependent on the entity account. When I click on this, we will now see that both flows are dependent on the entity account.
Okay.
However, it is not going to show us which particular step is used in each one with the dependency browser. That is not something that it's going to demonstrate, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, I do sort of have a workaround for this. So at one point, you guys wrote me a report that basically lists every flow and every step within the flow
Hmm.
that I can sometimes, and that might be in the product now. I think they might have added that somewhere. But the only issue with that report is that if you drag the get all from step over onto the flow, you can rename it to like whatever you want. So if you rename it to something different, then it doesn't show up right on the report. So I can't do that.
I see. So when you do that, yeah, because it's fetching it by this name here.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's some sort of query against either an internal service or like entity registration or element registration table.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So
Yeah.
the other thing I did too to help with this kind of thing is when we first integrated back in like 2016, I set up a pattern where I created my own flow on top of every step. So like I have a
Mm.
selective update flow that all it does is basically pass the info through and do the selective update. That way we can use that step in the flow and then you can trace it like that.
Ah, oh, that's clever.
But the
So
problem
everything
with
is,
that,
oh, sorry,
oh,
what were you
sorry.
saying?
The problem with that is like over time, some of the new developers like weren't following the pattern. So I'm trying to go back and find all the instances.
Mm,
So
and then just like highlight it and um do like the create subflow on or something like that.
yeah,
It's not gonna like it
exactly.
with the end step, but yeah. Okay. There might be another way to update that report, but I'm trying to think about how you would filter that per se. That does seem like a solid workaround. I'm just trying to think if there's a different way to be able to fetch that because you have, the table name it's going against, and then your step information has the flow step type, which should be constant. That shouldn't be something that they can change on
That's
that
actually what I was going to
report.
recommend is if you could give me the actual catalog step name and not the typed in name from the flow, that would.
Let's take a look. I think it's flow step type, but let's confirm that real quick. So flow steps should be stored element registration. So what was the name of that one, just so we can make our query a little bit easier to find here. That was exists step one. All right. Let's see. Is it flow step type? I don't know if it's going to be here actually. Because now I'm thinking about it. We store the entities in there, but that might be, hmm. I don't, yeah, because this would only be showing any of the designer created entities. Like, so is flow element. Let's try that. Let's check is flow element. Just to confirm. Nope, I didn't add my where clause. Let's run that. What do we get? What kind of stuff do we get? Entity name, get activities. I don't think that this is what we are looking for. Unless these are the flow name. Oh, add days. Hold on, hold on. These might be the steps. So let's see what, and that was called an entity name. And I'm just going to do a like just to confirm. And if I recall, that was
Exists,
what was it called?
exists, and then
Exist.
the weird. Well, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Let's just see what comes up when we do this. We get 8 results. File exists, directory exists, key exists, and cache flow data exists. Um, I'm not seeing it show up in here. That's what I was concerned about. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I can look into that a little bit more, but I'm not certain off the top of my head how to fetch it by that.
Okay.
But yeah, another thing that I can take a look at and figure out how to set that up. Good question, by the way. Very good question.
Thanks.
All right. We are getting near the end of our segment here. I think I might start the countdown now because everyone else has been in here quite a bit. So let's see. We will be closing this. Oh, oh, hold on. I see more stuff coming up in Q&A. Query the dependencies table. Well, the dependencies are the table that's showing up as far as the flows and elements. What I'm concerned is that flow steps aren't going to show up in the query dependency table. That's what I'm uncertain about. I don't mind looking, but that is where, let's see. So module resource dependency, project dependency, system dependency issue header. Let's run this one real quick and see what kind of stuff we're getting, but not certain what we're going to get back here. So ID from entity ID, from entity ID, entity name. Um, hmm, it might work. It might work. Where to underscore entity name is like exists. Let's see what this does. Table does not exist in database flow. Those are all flows. Let's do from entity name, and if it's not there, I'm not sure if this is our right place to look. From entity name, table not exist, views not exist, check project, check user exists. Yeah, this isn't coming back with our step name that we're looking for here. It's a
Okay.
good idea. Just don't think it's going to store what we're looking for, unfortunately.
Okay, well, thanks for
Yep,
entertaining that.
sure thing, of course. All right. Give this a countdown now of 3. No, someone, hold on. Oh, we got another one. Relationship to step ID. I will take a look into that. I will take a look in getting the relationship to step ID. That's the it's a step ID that I wasn't certain about when I was going in here as far as looking for that. So if I go to dependency and then we run that. It's the step ID. Yeah, that's the I'm uncertain if it's listing out the particular steps, but I will check. I will check if the particular steps do get generated with this. Possibly in the flow structure table. That might be what the original reports getting queried on. But yeah, I appreciate the insight there. I will take a look into that and see which table it's supposed to be, if any table, and then get back with an answer on that. All right. I'll restart the countdown. Going once. Going twice. All right, and thank you all for coming very much to this Lunch and Learn. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow, where I will be your host once again.